Hey guys, on this episode of our Chopshop, I add some stuff to the walls in the house, buy another Corolla, and start painting the KE55. So I've been working flat out this week, but I've still managed to get a few things done around the house. So let me show you those now. So I finally mounted this TV on the wall, finally mounted the clock on the wall. So I mounted this TV on the wall. So I mounted this blind over the back door to stop some of the sun coming into the house. I mounted this blind on the side of the house to stop the sun coming in. And I finally put up a clothesline. I've also put up the range hood, and Dale came around and helped me wire it up. So we just moved the plug from behind the range hood to above it, and now it's all fixed up. So I just need to do the flue to the roof and then the cover, and that's it. So another thing I've done recently is Dad and I put up this garden shed. So I'm going to move all of the stuff that I don't need in the big shed into the little shed and create some more room in the big one. Then I'll be able to use the big shed for its intended purpose and actually work on cars. So the garden shed's not staying here, so you can see that it's just on some tarps for a floor for now. So I've just bought some pins which are just in front of Harley. So I just need to pin the shed to the ground all the way around so it doesn't change shape or warp in the wind. So once the really big shed gets put up, this will get moved and put somewhere else, because this will be the driveway. So there'll be a fence here, and the driveway will be here, so that'll be right in the way. But for now, that's the best spot because I can get all the rest of the yard excavated and cleaned up, and then I'll be able to move this at a later date. So these are the pins that I've just bought. So they're only a foot long, just a piece of rebar. So I'm just going to put these into the ground like that on either side of the shed, just to stop the wall from flexing in and out and keep the doors shut and square. So I've just gone around and squared up the shed a bit, put the pins in down the bottom and cut the tarp off near the doorway, rolled up these bits and put some bricks on just so it doesn't flap around. You can see the rebar here and here, just there, and a couple up there, and along the front there's one on either side of the door. So there is two doors, but I've just put this one shut and pinned it, and this one will be open. So just coming around all the pins and stuff, so that's a good start. Moved these two sliding doors out the way. So they were originally going to be a cover in front of this shed on the side of the other one, but I'll probably use these on the back of the big shed when the other shed's built behind me. So we'll just go into the shed just to show you where the floor is. So as you can see, it's just tarp. I need to sweep it out, but I've got a bunch of pins all the way around, which you can see now, and it shouldn't flex anymore. So heaps better than it was 10 minutes ago. So chuck the lock back on. Ready for filling it with garbage. So another thing I've been working on this week is this seat control module, or whatever you want to call it. So the idea is to have an electric pair of seats, have seat control with slide recline height for the base and the tilt for the base as well. So these are for a pair of seats that I have already, and the controls like that are normally on the door card. So instead of being on the seat themselves like most electric seats, they're on the door card. So the plan with this is 12 volt fused, relayed, whatever, comes from here. So a good 12 volt source from there comes into here, and then through these switches you have on up and then reverse down. So you have slide forwards, slide backwards on both seats, left and right, then recline forwards and backwards, height up and down, and tilt back and forth on both seats with the 4 switches. Then the other feature of the seat needs a 12 volt constant for the lumbar support, which is on the seat itself. So 12 volt comes in, goes through the switch. So you have your left bundle of wire and your right bundle of wire. That comes out to these 5 different sets of wires. So we have left hand recline, we have left hand slide, we have left hand tilt, 12 volt constant for the lumbar support, and left hand height. So on this side we have the same: right hand recline, right hand height, right hand tilt, right hand slide, and then off the bench is the 12 volt constant. So the plan with this is to wire this into a car that's not supposed to have electric seats, obviously. So you put the seats in the car, these ends of the wires will be wired to the seat itself, and then you just add the 12 volt and mount this somewhere on the dashboard or on the center console. Now this isn't super pretty, but this will do for now. I just wanted to proof of concept everything. So this is actually full of wires and I had to glue the back on. It was that full. So if this breaks, I am screwed because there's so much hot glue in here and there's so many wires in here because each of these switches, so there's 4 switches, has 6 wires each. So each one needed an earth and a power, and then each one needed to have 2 wires coming off of it. And then each one to have a forward and a reverse, you need to reverse polarity. So you need to go from one corner of the switch to the other on both sides of the switch. So it was quite an in-depth process and it took quite a few evenings, but I haven't had a whole lot of time and this is something I could do inside. So it was a good little project for the week. So the next thing I want to show you this week is the KE70 I just bought. So here is the Toyota Corolla KE70 that I bought the other day. So this currently owes me $800, which is probably a bit much, but we'll see. So there's a bit of rust on the bonnet, but it's reasonably straight. There's a strange grille badge, but it looks like the stock grille. So just pop the bonnet. It has air conditioning, which is pretty fantastic. It's kind of rare in these models. It looks like it's got a new coil and fusible link and new leads and a new filter and stuff. So I'm assuming someone liked it at some point. And coming around to the back, the rear arch has been sanded back and some primer, so it's rusted again, and the boot as well. Coming inside, there's a dash mat, a single seat cover, and there's the seats there. So I have to take this cover off and see how bad that driver's seat is, and I don't know how bad the dash is either. Not the best, that's for sure, and the mat just split in half, so that's helpful. So it definitely needs a good clean. But other than that, I'm assuming it was a CS or a CSX because it's got the chrome all around. It's reasonably tidy though, just needs a bit of love. So it has got a bit of surface rust up the C-pillars and across the roof. But that's alright, we can deal with that. And on this back quarter here, we can deal with that as well. It's got a louver. The rear bumper's got a good ding in it. It's got a tow bar. I've already taken the lock out because this didn't come with keys, so I have to do something about that. So I've taken that out. And that's the floor there. So they always rust through here. KE70s are really bad for it. Always rust around there, above the tail lights. But this one seems pretty good. It's got a little bit of silicone on there. I'll pull that off. There's a little bit of rust here, but that's nothing compared to most of them. It looks like it comes down a little bit further than just that lip, but that's alright, I'll look into that. And the other side, very similar. So a little bit here, maybe it comes a little bit further, but reasonably good compared to most of them. So the boot's pretty straight, the doors are pretty straight. This quarter's been sanded down as well. So it looks like someone was going to try and restore this or try and clean it up and got halfway through it and gave up. So it's reasonably good for what I want to do to it. So I'll probably just do the same thing I did to the K55, or I'm going to do to the K55, which is just a quick rattle can respray, register it and fix it up and drive it. So I just found a few boxes in the boot. I've got a contact set of points, a ballast resistor box, and an ignition coil box. So someone was trying to get this running again. The carbie's in the plastic bag here, but apparently he's not sure if it works or not, which generally tells me it doesn't, so we'll have to look into that as well. So as you can see, it's reasonably tidy under the carpet in the back. If we come around here, there's a little bit of rust down the bottom here, but it's not too bad the whole way along. Not bad at all. So it just needs a good tidy up. So the second thing I'm going to do today is open up the KE70 and remove everything that's loose and then vacuum and clean it out. Give it a good clean all over and see how it comes up. So I've just removed everything from the boot of the KE70, and unfortunately they had some underlay from carpet underneath the spare tyre, and it's actually trapped the moisture in, so there's a bit of rust through here, but it's not very thick, so I can't push through it or anything, so it's not too bad. I might just grind that back and give it a coat of primer try and stop it from getting any worse. Other than that, the side pockets look pretty good. That's the right hand side. It's the left hand side with the rocks everywhere. So let's give this a vacuum out and see how it comes up. So I've just gone through and emptied out the KE70 and gave it a good vacuum. So there's a pile of stuff here that was in the car and some stuff on the other side of the car. Coming in here, I've taken the seat cover off, and the only damage seems to be this little mark here and a little bit on the headrest, which is way better than I was expecting. And I sat in it and all of the foam's gone, so it's actually really uncomfortable. But other than that, the steering column is off. Because this came with no keys, I'm assuming my tow truck driver mate pulled that off and tried to take the key out or take the barrel off. But other than that, it's all come up really clean. Back seat's really good, and the carpet's a bit stained, but not ripped or anything. And the door cards are really good, front and back, so that's good. There's not a lot of rust in this thing that I've found. There's a bit of surface rust here and there, but overall it's really quite good. Gave the engine bay a quick vacuum just to get some of the crap up. So now I'm going to pressure wash it, but as you'll see, there's no carby, so I'll have to be careful of that area there. Coming around to this side, here's the rest of the stuff I pulled off. So a pair of hubcaps, half bottle of petrol, which was in the engine bay, and then this seat's quite good as well. Carpet's quite good. Found some books from back in the day, so I'll go through those later. The center console is broken, which is a bit unfortunate, and the lid is snapped off also, but that's not so bad. Coming to the back, this mirror is also a bit dodgy. I might have to get another mirror. Then coming to the back, the back seat again is quite good, and the carpet's quite good. So all around reasonably clean. Gave this a vacuum, so the rust you can still see obviously. I've taken the two plugs out, and I'll give this a quick wash down and hopefully not make any more problems. So I've taken the boot seal off as well to give it a good clean around the boot seal, and I'll also clean up these when I get around to painting it and give them a coat of primer just to make sure it doesn't get any worse. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the project. This car and how it's come out. So these Corolla stickers have been added as well, which is something I didn't notice originally. But overall, reasonably clean, reasonably straight. So I give this a clean up and should be able to drive it, provided the carby works or the engine works or whatever's wrong with that, which I'll have to dive into in another day. So I bought this sight unseen. I got about 4 or 5 photos. It was up for sale for a couple $100. So I jumped on it, said yep, done. Called my mate Luke, who's got a tow truck, gave him some money. He went and picked it up for me, so it owes me $800 right now. So I need to change the keys over because I haven't got any keys at all. So I've got a set off of a Daihatsu, so the only thing I won't be able to change is the fuel cap, so I'll have to work something out for that. But I've got a pair of doors, I've got an ignition barrel, and I've got a boot lock, all matching. So we'll see how we go. I might have to try and find something for that. So should be a good little project once it's done. So I've just hosed off the KE70, gave it a good rinse over with the pressure washer, and then gave it a quick rinse with the hose just to try and blow out all the crap from all of the seals and all the joins and all the trims and stuff. Then took the lock off the fuel cap, popped that open, cleaned in there as well. There doesn't seem to be much rust in there, which is really great because they're always really bad through here. There's a little bit forming, but normally like this much of it is gone. So that's really good. Everything seems to be in really good shape. So now I've just moved the KE55 next to it. I'm going to steal the battery from that and put it in this one and see if it even turns over. It hasn't got a carby, so I don't expect it to run, but I can always pour a little bit of fuel into the intake manifold and see if it'll at least spark and try and run for half a second. So I've just swapped the battery from the 55 to the 70, and like I said, the 70 didn't come with any keys. So I've taken the ignition barrel off, and this is the back of the key, so you can just chuck a screwdriver in there and turn it on. So I'll just try and give it a start and see what happens. So that's accessories. Well, it turns over. That's a good start. So I just turned over the engine and that seemed to work, no worries. So one thing I do notice is that the fuel pump on these things is mechanical, so it runs off of the crank or the cam, I can't remember. And then it comes up to here, and then this should be spewing fuel out. So there's not fuel everywhere, so I reckon that the fuel pump's broken in this one as well, or there's no fuel in the tank, so I'll have a look at that later. But for now, I've just got the fuel that came with it. I'll chuck a little bit in the intake and see if it even wants to try and fire it up at all. So I have successfully spilt fuel everywhere, so now I'm going to set the camera up and try and crank it over. So just in case it catches on fire, at least it's on camera. Well, it tried to bark to life. It also sounds like the timing may be off, so that's something else I should look at later. In saying that the timing's off, it's tight, so at least there's no variable timing. Good job. So I've just been fiddling with the Dizzy for a second and just moving it around and trying to start it. I think I've got it in a position where I'm pretty happy with it, just for now anyway. So I'm going to try and pour some more fuel in here and go again and see if we can get it to fire up. I'd say that's a pretty successful test. So without getting the carburetor on, there's not much point playing with it for any longer. So I'll just call it there for today and start working on the KE55. Oh man, one of my wheel nuts came off. The interior trim for underneath the steering wheel, one mud flap, a badge which blew off when I was pressure washing, and a couple of fasteners all around. So all over, pretty good car. So I'll just have to put a bit more work into this thing, but it should come up really good. And I'll try and focus on the KE30 first, but this has got no bodywork, so maybe this will be easier to happen quicker. So I'm just going to check the rego before I spend any money on it, make sure it can be registered, and then go from there. And the last thing for this episode is to paint the KE55. So I've just got the windows on this side of the Corolla all taped up, so I'm just going to spray around the door frame black, and down this window separator and the B-pillar. So all of that's going to be black, and then once that's dry I'll pull all the tape off, re-tape off what I painted black, and then paint the rest of the car. But that might not be today. That's all there is to it. They're black now, so onto the other side or start doing some body work. Really not sure what I want to do next. So I've decided that the boot is probably the best panel on the car, so I'm going to give it a go with the red, which I've already done a patch panel here a couple of weeks ago. So I'm just going to try and give this a coat of red and see how it comes out. So I've just given the boot a coat of the red metallic. So two things I've noticed about this is there's a lot of metallic in it and it oversprays quite a lot. And the second thing is this particular spray can, it's a bit awkward to spray. Normally I would be pretty close and just do close lines together, whereas this one wants to be further away, but it's a little bit windy today, so it's kind of blowing the paint away before it gets to the panel. So I have to spray it kind of close, and you can sort of see a bit of like a mottled effect, and it's a bit darker and a bit lighter in some spots. So maybe another coat will get rid of that, but I'll have to pick my day a bit better. You can see here, this is the original color and this is the red. So they are different, but close enough to get away with it. And when I register this thing, I'll just change the rego to red instead of brown. And then back up to the windows, they're starting to look really good. Just the black around the windows. So I'm gonna have to paint this strip here where the gutter chrome was. I'll paint that red and it will definitely break it up a lot more. But again, I'm gonna have to pick my days a bit better, and I've still got heaps of body work to do. So this was just a bit of a stuff around today. Then coming to the KE70 boot, I've just gone through everything that came with the car. We've got the air filter and all the fasteners for that. We've got the carby, the boot seal, which I took off myself. The carby, which I need to find some nuts for. I think they were in the engine bay, but I have to have another look. So the progress with the 30k challenge. I bought the stuff for the KE55 and a new radiator. That brought me to $25.84 and 25 cents. I then bought the KE70 plus the tow truck fee for $800. So that brings us down to $1,784.25. But we have the KE70, we have the KE55, and we still have heaps of parts. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.